Today's lesson is going to be on interval notation. Most of you are very comfortable with greater than and less than. Interval notation is just another way of expressing that. As you get further along in your mathematics career, when you see something that looks like a point, odds are it won't be a point, it will be an interval. So let me show you what I'm talking about. When you see less than or greater than, you know what this means on a number line. In interval notation, this would be represented by a parenthesis, open or close. If it is less than or equal to, that's represented by a bracket. So brackets include the point, and parentheses exclude the point. And there is a lot more that will go to this as you move into calculus when you start doing maximums and minimums, but for now this should suffice. So let me show you some examples. If we had -4 is less than or equal to x is less than 6. Okay, on a number line we have our point -4 and we have our point 6. We know that x is greater than -4, and because it's equal to, that includes that point. X is less than 6, does not include that point. So we're dealing with the points in between. To write this interval using interval notation, you can see that, we're going to use a bracket for the -4 and a parenthesis for the 6. These two are equivalent. They mean the same thing. All right, another example. If you were given this number line, how would you write this using not absolute value, inequality notation? So we know that the -3 is not included. We know that the 5 is included. Oops. Let's do this with a different pen so you can see it better. So x is x is greater than 3, and it is less than or equal to 5. In interval notation, it's going to look something like this. Open circle means parentheses, -3. Closed circle means bracket. They mean the same thing. All right, let's go the other way. If you were given this interval notation, how would you graph that? Well, on your number line, you have -4. This is a bracket. It means that point is included. We have 2. Notice it's a parenthesis, so that point is not included. And it will be the points like that. Your next example, it's the interval from -3 to 0. Again, you have your number line. There's -3. There's 0. Neither one of those points is included. So it's going to look something like that. All right, let's challenge you a little bit. What if you were given a graph that looks like this? You can tell that we have an interval that goes between -7 and 0. Using interval notation, we have the interval that includes -7 and it stops at 0, but 0 is not included, so we're going to use a parenthesis. On the other part of our graph, 5 is not included, but where does our graph end? If it goes on and on and on forever, we call that positive infinity. So if our graph goes to positive infinity, the question is, do you use a bracket or a parenthesis? Well, can you ever include infinity? I don't think so. So infinity will always be with a parenthesis. Now, how do we tell that our graph is these two together? It's going to be the union of this interval and the other interval. All right, let's give it one last go. How would you graph this on a number line? Pretty simple, actually. Start with your number line. It's always good to put a 0 in there. All right, we're working with the interval that goes from negative infinity to 4. 4 is not included in that. So I know it's going to be all these points, and just go ahead and shade in that arrow. It's taking you way back. All right, this interval. The interval 6 to 8. Well, there's 6, there's 8. 6 is not included, but 8 is due to the bracket. And that's how it looks. Good job, guys. Hope this helped.